Sisters fight over the same guy. I met Terry at the wedding of one of my fellow fraternity sisters. She was there as the team leader of the caterer team. She was wearing a tailored white blouse with enough buttons undone to show a hint of impressive cleavage, a short black skirt, dark tights, and surprisingly 4-inch heels. I'll never understand how women can work in heels. But Terry moved quickly and gracefully as she guided her staff. Bradley, another of the fraternity, was the best man, and he seemed to think that made him somewhat of an authority figure. Well, that and the few glasses of wine he'd had. He took the liberty of yelling at some of the attendants when they didn't obey his commands. He was loud enough to get a lot of attention when he berated a pretty little girl who was trying to clear dirty dishes from her table. The poor young lady had no idea how to behave around this asshole and was visibly upset. She turned to run back into the kitchen, and Bradley slapped her body and then laughed obnoxiously as she dropped the small tray of dishes she was carrying. I got up from my seat and walked over to help the young lady. She was crying quietly and her hands were shaking. I spoke quietly to her as I bent down to help her pick up the broken dishes. "I'm sorry, he's a drunk asshole. Usually he's just an asshole, but being drunk seems to have taken him to a whole new level of asshole." She sniffed her nose and tried to smile at me, picking up the tray we'd loaded with broken plates. She stood up, and I realized she was a tiny creature, maybe a little shy of 5 feet tall and no more than 100 pounds. When I stood up, she threw her head back to face me. "Thank you," she said and hurried away. I had to smile as I watched her walk away. She was cute. I turned to go to Bradley's table when a bright spot flashed past me. Terry had witnessed the abuse of her young employee, and she had stormed over to Bradley and was in his face, threatening him with her finger, letting him know what an ass he was. Bradley was too drunk or too stupid to deal with the small hurricane that was blowing in his face. He stood up and headed over to Terry. I was there in an instant. At 6 feet 2 inches tall, 188 centimeters, I'm in pretty good shape. The younger Bradley had mellowed in the 3 years since we graduated from high school. I put my arm around him and easily dragged him back through the nearest doorway. A few seconds later, the groom appeared. John thanked me for my help, grabbed Bradley, and dragged him down the hallway. I returned to the ballroom and headed back to my seat. After it was over with dinner and the guests started moving towards the dance floor, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned around. Terry was standing by my chair. I stood up. "I just wanted to thank you for coming to my little sister's rescue. Amy is young and just doesn't know how to deal with drunken assholes." Well, it was very inappropriate of Bradley to treat her that way. I'm sorry she had to go through that. I put my hand out. "I'm Tim Ryan." Terry Long. "I'm very pleased to meet you, Tim Ryan." It was at that moment when her hand was in mine, with that dazzling smile and bright blue eyes looking down at me, that I realized I had to get to know this wonderful woman better. "Look, Terry, not that you owe me anything, and I swear I'm not trying to use my advantage as your sister's knight in shining armor, but can I get your number?" I held her hand and gave her a shy smile. She released my hand, reached into the small pocket of her skirt, and pulled out a business card that she held in her right hand. It listed my cell phone number. She leaned toward me and touched my chest lightly with her left hand. "I will wait for your call. Please don't keep me waiting." And with those words, she turned and walked back to the kitchen. I stood there and defiantly watched her sweet body sway as she walked away. I decided that I didn't really want to stick around for the dance when I noticed a somewhat depressed Bradley walk back into the ballroom. John waved at me when he saw me heading for the exit. I know it's bad form not to talk to the bride and groom before they leave, but I wanted to avoid a possible confrontation with Bradley. I think John understood. I waited 3 days to call Terry and ask her out on a date. The date went well, and we started seeing each other regularly. After about our 5th date, she invited me to her parents' house for her mother's birthday. I was a little nervous about meeting the family, but I shouldn't have been. Terry's parents were excited to meet me, and her older brothers didn't even try to threaten me. When Terry formally introduced me to Amy, she grabbed me and held me against her tiny body. "Okay, Amy, hands off. He's mine and you can't have him," said Terry, and then joined the others, laughing at a heavily blushing Amy, who reluctantly let go of me. Amy brightened up at me and said, "Okay, sis, but don't screw it up, because if you do, I'll be first. Dibs on me. Amy!" Her mother slapped her lightly on the arm. "Stop it, you're embarrassing poor Tim." The birthday party went well, and when we said goodbye, I received hearty handshakes from my brothers and another crushing hug from tiny Amy. In the car, Terry grinned. "I'll have to keep an eye on that little naughty girl. She seems to be head over heels in love with my handsome boy." I guess Terry may have been a little influenced by another woman showing interest in her boyfriend. When we got back to her house, she pushed me onto the couch and climbed into my lap. She stroked my face and then kissed me hard. My hand found her breast and she broke the kiss, stood up and pulled me into the bedroom. It wasn't the first time for us, but there seemed to be some new urgency as Terry ripped my clothes off. I quickly joined her in an almost frantic effort to undress. We fell onto the bed, Terry clung to me and kissed me. "Please, honey, I need you so badly, please." Then we made love, and it was wonderful. Afterward, she opened her eyes and smiled at me, purring sweetly. Our arms wrapped around each other as she pulled me to her body. I kissed her hard, then slid onto my side, holding her in my arms. "I think I could stay here forever. No one has ever loved me like you have, sweetheart. Please, God, please, please, just let me spend the rest of my life here in your arms." Terry snuggled up against me and I wrapped my arms around her. We lay like that for a few minutes before I fell into a blissful sleep. A few months later, I had just finished mowing my little lawn and was putting the mower away when a little red Miata pulled into my driveway. I wiped my hands on my jeans and stepped out of the garage to greet my visitor. Amy jumped out of the car and waved, heading toward me. "Well, what a pleasant surprise! What brings my gorgeous younger sister-in-law to me?" "Hi, Tim. Yeah, I need to talk to you. Is there somewhere we can sit down?" "Sure, come on in. We can sit on the patio. I made some iced tea. Do you want some?" "Yes, that would be great." I got the tea and handed it to a nervous-looking Amy. "So what can I do for you, Amy?" Amy paused for a moment, then looked me straight in the face. "Tim, I think you know how I feel about you, so I just have to ask you, are you planning on marrying my sister?" "Hey, Amy, why come here and ask me that?" "There's a couple reasons. But first, let me ask you, did she tell you about Michael?" "Michael? The guy she was engaged to a few years ago?" "Yeah. She told me they broke up when he took a job overseas and told her he wasn't coming back. What does that matter? Has she talked about him lately?" "No, why would she?" "Amy, is there something you need to tell me?" "I can't believe she didn't tell you." "She didn't tell me what? What are you talking about?" "Tim, Michael's back. He called home last week and told his mom he was back and wanted to talk to Terry. He didn't have her current cell phone number, so he asked Mom for it. She wasn't sure what to do, so she told him she would give his number to Terry and leave it up to her to call him back or not. She immediately called Terry and told her, "Terry didn't tell you anything about this?" The shock on my face must have been answer enough. "That stupid cheating bitch!" "When she told me she talked to Michael, I told her that she should be honest with you about it. She said she was just really embarrassed, but she would tell you what was going on. I was hoping she had already told you, but I suspected she was chickening out. I'm so sorry I took it out on you like that." "Amy, I'm glad you did. I mean, is she still in love with the guy? I gotta talk to her. I gotta know what's going on. Thanks for taking care of it, coming over and telling me." "Tim, I'm sure nothing's changed. You know, not happened, but you deserve to know what she's thinking. Please don't tell her I told you about Michael. She's my sister. I love her. But what she's doing isn't fair to you." After Amy left, it took me a few minutes to collect my thoughts. Things were really great with Terry. I had always thought about our future together, and we had even talked about her moving in with me. Now this? I shook my head. As I thought about it, I suddenly realized that I hadn't really talked to Terry in days. My work had been keeping me busy. We'd exchanged voice messages but never really talked. I just assumed that she was busy with work too because at times her work was loading up. But now I had to wonder if maybe she was avoiding me because she didn't want to tell me about Michael. Well, I'm not the type to wait around. I called her. The phone rang a few times, then switched to voicemail. I cleaned myself up, then dialed her number again. Voicemail. I jumped in the car and headed to her apartment. Each apartment in her complex had 2 parking spaces with the apartment number on them. Terry's small SUV was parked in her usual spot, and the extra spot was taken by a small sedan with a rental car company logo on the back window. I pulled into someone else's spot and shut the car off. I was angry when I realized that the rental car meant Michael was visiting Terry. My rational brain said the car could have belonged to someone visiting a neighbor and, like my car, was parked in the wrong place. But I was angry. I was just about to open the door when Terry's door opened. A short, thin, dark-haired guy stood in the doorway for only a second and then stepped out onto her porch. Terry appeared in the doorway and my heart dropped when I realized she was wearing a robe. She clutched the robe to her chest, and the guy leaned over and kissed her lightly on the lips. The guy turned away and walked down the driveway as Terry closed the door. I jumped out of the car and quickly headed toward the guy. When I was about 10 feet away from him, I called out, "Michael?" Michael popped his head up and stared at me in confusion. Then he seemed to realize what was going on. "You must be Tim, Terry's new boyfriend?" "Well, I thought so, but now I'm not so sure. You want to tell me what you're doing here?" "Apparently, I'm trying to win my girlfriend back from her new lover, but it looks like it's going to be a lot harder than I'd hoped." I didn't care about his perky attitude. I clenched my fist and took a step toward him. He quickly realized he was no match for me, jumped into the rental car, and locked the doors. I walked over to the driver's window and stared at him intently. As he was about to pull into reverse, Terry called out to me, "Tim, please just let him go." I turned to face her. She was in her robe. She looked at me pleadingly, opened the door invitingly, and said, "Please come in." I stared at her for a few seconds. I turned and headed back to my car, and Terry begged me to stop and come back. I drove back home while my phone was blowing up with calls and messages from Terry. I was home when Terry pulled into my driveway with a roar, tires squealing. She jumped out of the car and ran up onto the porch. She pounded on the door, shouting my name. I opened the door and she tried to squeeze past me. Well, I'm a big guy and it's hard to move me when I don't want to be moved. Finally, she stepped back and said, "Please, Tim, please let me come in and talk to you." "Oh, now you want to talk to me? But you've been too busy to talk to me the last few days, and now, all of a sudden, when I catch you with an old lover, you just have to talk to me?" Terry lowered her head. "You have every right to be angry with me. I treated you badly. I'm so sorry. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I wanted, and I didn't know how to tell you. Honey, I'm so sorry I hurt you. I'm just at a loss right now, and I need time to figure things out." "Figure things out? You mean like deciding if you want to stay with me or go back to your ex-fiancé? Is that what you need to figure out?" "Well, yeah, Tim, I love you, but I loved Michael for years before he left. I have all these mixed emotions. I just don't know what I want right now. I know we didn't talk about being exclusive, but I'm very sure we were. From what I saw today, you in your robe, the goodbye kiss, I'm guessing that's not the case now, is it?" Terry lowered her head. "Tim, honey, I just don't know what to do. I love you both." Oh God, I'm so confused. I took a deep breath and exhaled. Tim. Well, I think I have an answer. We may have never said those words, but you knew, your whole family knew, and all of our friends knew that we were meant to be a couple. I know, why is it so hard? Honey, I love you so much, but I still love him too. We were just talking and he grabbed me and kissed me and all the old feelings came flooding back. I'm so confused. Are you confused? You deliberately tried to avoid talking to me so you could cheat on me with him behind my back. I'm sorry. I was just afraid of losing you. Oh my God. How can I make you realize how much this is tearing me apart? I love you both. It's like my brothers. I love them both. I could never prefer one over the other. I love them both equally. When Michael left, I thought I'd never really love anyone again. But then I found you. Now he's back, and I know I still love him, but I'm also in love with you. So what do you expect me to do? You're already having sex with this guy. When things got serious between us, you had to tell me you were still in love with him. You weren't honest with me or with yourself. You let me believe that I was your only love, just as I loved you and no one else. We'll never be together again. It's time for you to go. Goodbye, Terry. Terry fell to her knees. No, I don't want to do this. Please, Tim. I actually love you as much as I love him. I need you in my life. Please, honey, don't do this. I love you. I shook my head. You know, I actually believe that you really do love us both, but it's just not enough for me. I closed the door and left her on the porch. A few long minutes later, I heard her car pull out of the driveway. I sat down on the couch, wrapping my arms around my head. How had this happened? 2 weeks ago, I had rehearsed my proposal, and now it was over. I shed a few tears for the love I lost, but I knew I had done the right thing. I was glad it happened before we got married. A few months later, I saw a post on the web that Terry and Michael were engaged and would be getting married in a few months. I have to admit it touched my heart a little. I still loved her deeply. I had dated a few ladies, but I had never felt such a special connection with any of them. My work kept me busy, and I reconnected with some of my old buddies and enjoyed socializing with them. It had been about 2 years since Terry and Michael had gotten married. I was at a sports bar pub with a few of my buddies when suddenly they all stopped talking and stared over my shoulder. I looked around and saw Terry, Amy, her 2 brothers, and Michael being escorted to a table. They were smiling and joking around. I loved being around the Long family. They were good people. I especially missed Amy's teasing. She was such a sweet little girl. Oh well. I turned back to my buddies, who were all kind of frozen in place. Ancient history, dudes. So whose round is it next? This seemed to unfreeze the guys as they all tried to tell me that it was the other guy's turn to buy. Finally, I told them I would buy and with a wave of my hand signaled to the bartender. She nodded, and a few minutes later brought out a new round. We played darts and I was doing well. I had beaten 3 challengers and was walking around looking important when I heard, "Want to try your luck with me, big guy?" My buddies froze again as I turned to the little demon who dared to challenge the darts master. I smiled at Amy. She threw herself at me, her legs wrapped around my waist and her arms wrapped around my neck. The next thing I realized was that she had kissed me. My buddies were just ogling us when we were together. Finally, she whined for a breath of air and then slapped me. "Hey, what's that for?" "That's for not calling me, asshole. I've been waiting over 2 years for you to call me. 2 long years. Oh, so your phone only takes calls? Really, Amy?" "Yes, really. I promised Mom I wouldn't make trouble by chasing you, but if you had called me, well, I really didn't, Dibs. I kept my word, but you never called." "Tim, why didn't you call me?" I looked at my buddies who were smirking at me as I held this tiny beauty in my arms. I guess I thought it was awkward." She squinted, looking at me. "Awkward in front of who?" "Well, for you and your family." "Bullshit! Everyone in the family knows I'm in love with you. Try it again." Geez, Amy. I just broke up with your sister. We were planning on getting engaged. She's your sister. But she screwed it up, so I had rights, and everyone knew it. You moved on. In fact, I heard you were dating, so try again." "Why didn't you call me?" "Yeah, Tim, why didn't you call her? Are you blind or something? This is a note from my good buddy, Joel." Amy leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. "He's so sweet. You have good friends. Now try again. I have the whole night ahead of me." Then the other guys started piling on, hoping to get a kiss from the little pixie still wrapped around my waist. Okay, okay, you win. I'm an asshole. I should have called you. I put one hand under her body to lift her up and the other behind her head and pulled her in for a long kiss while my buddies mocked us. I broke the kiss and said, "Amy, I'm sorry I didn't call you. Can you ever forgive me?" "I don't know. Kiss me again." I did. She pulled away from me and looked intently into my face. "Okay, you're forgiven. Now put me down so I can show you how to throw darts." Near the end of our match, yes, she was killing me, her older brother walked up to our group and took me aside. "Well, Tim, it looks like little sister has finally claimed her rights. Of course, we all knew she would sooner or later. Just treat her right, and Fred and I will let you live." "Thanks, Bob. I know this will cause some awkward moments with your family, but I'll try to avoid it as much as possible." "It's not likely to be awkward. These two," he pointed his thumb over his shoulder at Michael and Terry, "are headed to Europe. He's got a 3-year assignment in France, so by the time they get back, who's going to care?" I smiled broadly and shook his hand. "I guess I'll see you at Sunday dinner soon." I joined our group, and Amy climbed into my lap and kissed me several times. As you might expect, Joel jumped in. "Get a room!" Amy laughed and said, "2 years is a long time. I'm tired of waiting. Take me to your place, big guy." I thought Joel and the guys were going to freak out when they heard that. I took Amy to my place and we went inside. She immediately started shedding her clothes and headed for the bedroom. I caught up to her and picked her up in my arms. "Amy, are you sure about this? I mean, is this really what you want?" "Tim, you're a big, strong guy and I'm a tiny woman, but I know what I want. From now on, it's your job to make sure I get it. Any questions?" "No, baby, do whatever you want." "Right now, I want you lying on your back in the middle of that big, beautiful bed," she said, pointing to my bed. She helped me undress, and I plopped down in the middle. Then we made love, and I couldn't believe my happiness. Afterwards, I pressed my tiny new lover against my chest and kissed her on the top of her head. She lifted her face. "I love you, honey. I have loved you since that day at the wedding, and I will love you forever." Life with Amy was a whole new level of excitement. She was like a wildcat in bed and insisted we try everything she had ever heard of. I wondered if she could be faithful to me and asked her if she planned to have sex with other guys. Man, for such a small thing, she spanks really hurt. 6 months later, I took Amy to look for a ring that would fit her delicate fingers. Her family was thrilled with our news. They told me that she and her mother were making wedding plans, and I just had to do as I was told. Gee, I hope I get invited. Amy was pregnant with our second child when Terry returned from Europe, without Michael. He seems to have adopted the French attitude of fidelity and didn't mention this fact to his wife. At one of our Sunday family dinners, Terry sat next to me on the veranda as I held my 1.5-year-old son in my arms. "He is very handsome, just like his daddy. I knew you would have beautiful children." "Thank you, Terry. He inherited that from his mom." "Tim, I want you to know I still love you. I never stopped loving you." Maybe that's what drove Michael away from me, who knows? "Amy knows I love you, but she knows I love her, so you'll never have a problem with me. I'm telling you this because I want to be closer to your family if you'll let me." Before I could answer, Amy teasingly walked over, took my son from my arms, and handed him to Terry. "Great, sis. He probably needs a diaper change, and I need to carry the big guy to our room." Terry giggled as I stared at Amy. "Well, I certainly don't mind. Now, why do we need to go upstairs?" Terry laughed out loud and shook her head as Amy picked me up and said, "Terry, he's cute, but sometimes he's a little slow to grasp the point." As soon as we entered the room, she slammed the door and my little wildcat attacked me. "Oh, now I get it." "Finished with me," Amy said. "I love my sister, and I think she would be a great aunt for our kids. Do you think you can handle having her around a little longer?" Do you still have feelings for her that would make it too hard for you? I could see the conflict on her beautiful face. She needed her sister, but she didn't want to cause me any discomfort. You are the center of my universe. My heart belongs to you and our growing family. I admit that I simultaneously longed for her and hated her for a year or so after the breakup, but I haven't looked at any other woman since the day you attacked me. Baby, you are 100% of my heart. I am completely yours. Amy kissed me. Honey, I love you so much, and I never want to disrespect you or take you for granted. If it's okay with you, I want Terry back in my life. She's my big sister. I love her. But if it bothers you in the slightest, I'll keep her away from us. At first, it was a little weird being around Terry all the time. She visited us often and babysat regularly. The babysitting was great, and it allowed Amy and I to get away for some adult time. She never pestered me or tried to act nice around me. She never asked me to forgive her for cheating on me. She just tried to be the best aunt she could be. I think gradually I just relaxed and accepted her as Amy's sister rather than my former lover. Amy checks on me sometimes to make sure I'm okay, but that just shows me her devotion to her man. It's just one of the reasons I love her. I'm a very lucky boy to have found so much love in such a tiny package. The end! Subscribe to my channel.